Right. I want to make 3 or 4 points, and it's all to do with motives and intentions to deceive. And I want to show these because I'm not familiar with what the claim is with regards to how much drop there's meant to be. All I've heard so far is there's drop, demonstrable drop, and I don't know how much. I don't know what's being claimed. But what I want to show you is a couple of pieces of evidence for you to weigh up yourself and interpret. First piece of evidence is on Fight the Flat Earth's recent video. He's got Ranty chatting away about this video, the image. 2 points about the image. We all know that the original image has got this bit on the left-hand side, right? But you can see that Ranty's not presenting that. Now, is it on its own? It's not enough, because it could be that he got the image from Ruhif. It could be that he cherry-picked it himself. Who knows? But the point I'm making is that he's appealing to the Fight the Flat Earth audience, and he's not showing all of it. Now, on its own, it's 50-50. But they've got Bev in the background, and they're actually selling T-shirts or sweaters or whatever, saying #thanks Bev, whilst plugging their show for the whatever it is they're doing, something to do with ghosts. And they're saying thanks Bev, and they're saying come and buy the tops because any money that's earned will go and do this, that, and the other. Now, what Bev actually did was he went back to the same location and he got another image. And to be fair, he wasn't trying to match it. He was just trying to get another image to see whether or not the mountains were relative in the same position to the tower. And his conclusion on the evidence that he obtained was that it was similar. They've credited Bev, thanks Bev, in a way that makes the audience think that Bev's proved something. And all he actually did was went back to validate some part of it to see whether or not the elevations were consistent with the tower. But by presenting it as a thanks Bev, it implies that Bev's proved Ball Earth, which is totally dishonest. Now, back to the claim.
On a low YouTube level of producing like people.
Yeah, but that's an old trick.
What is going on? Sorry, Anthony.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I know. I just wanted to make those 2 points now. What I want to focus on now, on the back of those 2 points, in this image that we see, there are 2 pieces of footage. There is something in the foreground that looks like it's stretched out widthways, and there's obviously the clear mountains in the background. But I think we can all agree that there is 2 points to the whole image, right? There is something in the foreground, and there is the clarity of whatever's in the background. And I'm going to say that the stuff in the foreground is significantly closer because it appears to be bigger, and I'm going to show evidence to indicate, well, to prove what it actually is. Now, bear in mind, we don't know what the claim is for how much is supposed to be dropped, but we know that these mountains are all about 2,000 feet tall. And we know that if we're seeing 2,000 feet tall, we know that something that would be hidden, to say, if it was, say, less than 1,000 feet, you would expect it to be behind the Earth's curve. If I was to show you evidence that shows that this mound here is 1,000 feet tall, and it is clearly not just above the horizon, it is 1,000 feet above the horizon, okay, it might be a little bit squashed. But if I showed you that this was 1,000 feet tall, this mound at the bottom, and therefore then I could say there is no missing drop in this evidence at all, then they're going to have to come up with something to quantify the drop that they're claiming. Because the mountains are 2,000 feet, I'm going to prove to you that this is only 1,000 feet. And if we say that that's 2,000, that's 1,000, plus it's a bit squashed. That's why it's not 50%. I'm going to say that the sea level here is the level Earth, the plane that we're living on. Oh. How do I come to this conclusion? Well, what I've done is I've put on Google Earth, I've put on the guy where he was at his observation point on Southport, and I've lined up with the Scafell and Scafell Pike, which are the 2 highest mountains in England. One of them Scafell, the other one Scafell Pike. Doesn't really matter which, but the point is that these are the mountains that are in the background. Now I want to draw your attention to this. If I zoom out here so you can see the whole line that I'm drawing, you can see what I'm referring to here now as I do it. I've got obviously the observer. You can see the arrow as I'm moving up and down the line. It moves up and down. The observer's at Southport here, and as I move up the water, I just clip off the edge of the Blackpool town, go past that, and I start getting onto the woods to where the coastline is. And now I get to the coastline, and we have a bit of relief elevation, right? We have this mound that's here, and this is 985 feet. So we'll call that best part 1,000 foot. But then, if you accept that there is going to be obstructing everything that's behind it because it's all lower than it, that bit there can't be seen by it. The only other thing that could be behind it would be this bit and perhaps this bit. And these 2 bits, when you're looking from down here, they're going to be virtually parallel with each other. You may not even see the back one. It might not be scaffold that we're seeing. It might be this thing in the foreground. But the only other thing in the middle ground is this. So what I want to do now is I want to zoom into this to show you what this is.
Before you do,
So this point here, I want to show people what this is, because if you accept that everything behind this up to this point here can't be seen because this mountain is blocking it because it's a straight line of sight to it, then what is this mound? Because this is the only other thing that's obstructing the view. Now, if this is less than 1,000 feet, and we know that it's in the image, then they're going to have some explaining to do. Now, that's where you can see where it is. It's there, isn't it? So let's just pull this over. There. We can see that that is 985 feet. So what is it? Well, if we pull ourselves down a little bit, we can see that there's a reservoir up there. So what do they do with reservoirs? They build them at high elevations, don't they? And what do we see? Oh, I'm just trying to get it a little bit closer, but not that close. And what do we see with the land that we're looking at? You can see that it is a gradual, shallow hill. It's not a peak like a triangle. It's a shallow, flat thing, and it's quite wide, and it matches what we see. So if I go back to the original image, look at the shape of it. You've got this long, shallowy thing that's here, and that is matching the only other obstruction that is possible in the image, which is this. I can't really show it now because I'm not in the right place. But the point I'm showing you is that there is no other elevation blockages. There's that one, and then you end up with the peak in the mountain in the background, which is a combination of these two. There's nothing else. So when we look at the evidence in the footage that's claimed, this lower part here is 1,000 feet. That bit up there is 2,000 feet. Well, if that's 2 and that's 1, where's the drop? Because that's going to be ground level at 0. So I want somebody to quantify how much drop is supposed to be there, because we know that this is 1,000 feet high. And when you acknowledge that that's 1,000 feet, unless Google Earth's wrong, we've identified what this lower part of the ground is. And it shows that there is no drop. So can somebody please quantify how much drop's supposed to be missing in this evidence? Because there doesn't appear to be any, guys.